We just talked about the 2026 rookie class, but today we're going to tell you what to do with those picks, if you should move those picks and what players you should target if you move those picks. Do us a favor. If you enjoy the Dynasty content, drop a like for us and make sure you're subscribed. I want to start this video with a huge disclaimer because every time we do videos, involving trading assets for other assets, we get bombarded with comments about, oh, this is possible, but this is not. This isn't happening. Nobody's making this trade. And so the disclaimer is this: not every league is your league. Okay, so we have tens of thousands of people that watch this channel. And we have also tens of thousands of people that are in casual leagues, work leagues, home leagues, more competitive dynasty leagues. Some people are in leagues just as sharp as yours. But do keep in mind, the trade targets that are suggested in these videos, we have to gear them towards like the median consumer of our dynasty content. And so they may not be your exact league, and this may not work in your league. But you have to understand that you're not the only one watching this channel. Every piece of advice that we give, we're giving it for all of you. And so if the advice is applicable to your league, that's great. Go use it. But if you can't do some of the trades we're recommending in this video, then I'm sorry, that particular piece of advice isn't applicable to you. But it doesn't mean that we can't give other people advice. And just keep that in mind as you're getting the trade targets here for these picks. Not every league is your league. This is based on two things: the market value of players based on multiple sets of rankings and deals that we have seen go down. Nathan and I answer how many trade questions a day? And how many roster reviews do we do a month? You don't even want to know. So we see this stuff happen. Okay, so this is what we're going to give you. This is a picks for players video where we're going to tell you, hey, you got 26 first? Let's move them for these players, all right? Let's start with early first. We can kind of bounce back and forth here. Early first, I will say, I think are very undervalued. I think 26 firsts are undervalued as a whole. And so you'll notice a common theme in this video for trading away your first is we're going to aim very high with them. Because if you can't get an overpay for them, they're worth holding because they are going to mature to their peak value come March or April, okay? And the hype will build around this class, even though it's not as strong a class as we've seen the last couple of years. It's not a terrible class, and these picks still are going to go up in value, whereas right now you have those picks actually sitting below value, 27 first, which will flip. That will flip eventually. We're just going to have to see it happen. So early firsts are a little bit undervalued, as are the rest of the firsts in this video. But Rashee Rice is one guy that I think is also undervalued. He's being valued kind of around an early first right now. You definitely can move an early first for Rashee Rice. And when the season's all said and done, my guess is whoever you're drafting in the early first is going to be about value equivalent to where Rashee Rice is valued when you have this big sample size of him playing all these games. Okay, and so, Jeremiah Love's probably the exception here. I think he's probably valued a little bit above Rashee Rice when he comes in the league. So if it's the 101, I think you have to hold the 101. But the 102 through like 104 here, categorizing as an early first, and you really don't know where it's going to be. Rashee Rice is definitely somebody I would look to get before he jumps up in value. Again, I think when it's all said and done, he'll be a 2-3 turn guy in Dynasty startups. And that's usually about where you see the 2 through 4 picks go. Usually that's a little bit before that range, actually. So you could end up getting a value win with Rashee Rice, in my opinion. We've said this over and over, but he's going to be somebody that gets you a value win if you trade for him in Dynasty. A lot of you guys have already tried, and so we might be exhausting this one. But he is one of the only guys in the early first range that I actually be willing to trade 26 first for at this moment.
I would also be willing to do it for Ted McMillan. McMillan, for me and for a lot of people, has done enough just in the first 6 weeks for us to be very confident that he's going to maintain his value comfortably, and there's going to be a ton of optimism even heading into the 2026 season, despite what he's already done this year. I mean, he's already at 400, just under 400 receiving yards through 6 weeks, so he's on track to have well over 1,000 receiving yards as a rookie. The target volume has been very consistent, very high level. I mean, he's looking the part as a true alpha potential wide receiver long-term. He's already the alpha for his team, but like an alpha fantasy high level productive wide receiver long term, he's absolutely capable of it, and it's enough for him to maintain his value right there, I think, in the early third round of your dynasty startups, which is right around, if you remember, where Hampton was going at the 102, where your guys like McMillan, Henderson were going at 3-4, Travis Hunter, etc. They were all going in that like early to mid third round range. Ted is going to be right there. This is, at the very least, if you were to make this move right now, at the very least, it is a lateral move for a very insulated asset in Dynasty. Best case scenario, he continues to increase in value significantly to a point where he's worth even more than just a singular early first.
We would probably do the same for Garrett Wilson as well. And there's two reasons. Number one, Garrett Wilson is an elite top 10 NFL wide receiver on an elite contract. Number two, he's been producing through a terrible situation up until the Denver game where, ultimately he ended up getting hurt, and that game was just the ugliest game of all time. He still is a top 8 wide receiver from a production standpoint through 6 weeks in the worst freaking system I've ever seen. It is so freaking bad. And so what does this tell you about Garrett Wilson's value? Garrett Wilson's value is going to hover around this early first 102 to 104 range regardless. But what do you think is going to happen to Garrett Wilson, who again is on a big deal when Fernando goes?
You see this helmet right here?
You see the helmet?
There's a guy wearing this helmet right now that's going to be a New York Jet very soon.
Now, even if it's not for Fernando, it's probably going to be one of Dante Moore, Fernando, John Mateer, you name it. It can be Lenore Sellers. I don't know which one it's going to be. I think it's more likely to be Fernando than anybody. I think Fernando projects
right now,
maybe not somebody as like somebody who's going to break the bank from a fantasy perspective, but he'll be really freaking good for Garrett Wilson. He would be amazing for Garrett Wilson. And so when Garrett Wilson does get that new quarterback, my point is he is going to go up in value in the offseason. The Jets will draft a quarterback. Justin Fields is atrocious. Okay, he is so bad. And so this is going to be one where you already are kind of buying into Garrett Wilson, where his value is going to sit regardless, but he's going to see a value bump later. And that makes him a good investment for an early first if you can swing that in your league as well.
So if you've noticed with the market value of running backs right now, I mean, like we anticipated with the rookie running back class and just the contract extensions that these veterans were getting, you've seen a resurgence in market value and even insulation for a lot of these running backs long term. I mean, the top end of the running back market in Dynasty is younger than it's been in probably a half decade. And that is a really, really good sign for just the insulation of the position as a whole with those top end assets and what their potential could be long term. But with Quinshon Judkins, you're looking at him produce right now, getting bell cow work in one of the worst offenses in the NFL, and he is just excelling, absolutely excelling. He looks really, really, really good. If you were in the bank of Quinshon Judkins over Travion Henderson before all the legal stuff came in, like, kudos to you. That's looking really, really, really good right now. And with Quinshon, where he's currently being priced, he's actually right around there by Tet McMillan, by Nico Collins, James Cook, Brian Thomas Jr., etc. And he just continues to increase in value way, way, way further than where he was even again before all this legal stuff. So with the running back market at the moment and how crowded it's getting at the wide receiver position up top, you are seeing a decent amount of fluctuation there outside of like the top 8 wide receivers in Dynasty, because there's just so much to sort out, right? You've seen dramatic fallers like BTJ. You've seen dramatic risers like JSN. You've seen Ladd plummet down rankings. And in the midst of all that, in the midst of the storm, you just see all these running backs slowly creep up and just solidify their position in this Dynasty market ADP. And I think that's going to continue on here for a guy like Judkins, where it can't get any worse situationally than what it already currently is. And that's a really good sign for his outlook for the rest of his career, because you're always going to have optimism for a better quarterback, a better passing game, which should open up the run game. And with the volume is currently getting as a bell cow, like it's very rare to see that for a guy who's just come into the league and barely even participated with his team to start the season.
All right, let's talk about Marvin Harrison Jr. for the mid-first. And when I say mid-first, we're usually categorizing this as like 105 to 108. With Marv, it's going to be more of the 105, 106 is what I think his value is right now in Dynasty. Because you're seeing him go in Dynasty leagues. These are real trades from Trade Finder for guys like T. Higgins, who's also probably equivalent to a mid-first. You're seeing him go for DeAndre Swift in a second in a Dynasty 12-team Superflex. Marvin Harrison and J.K. Dobbins for a first and a second. That was a mid-first, right? C.J. Stroud for Marvin Harrison, okay? So you're seeing him go in that mid-first range. He has fallen in Dynasty value. We have evidence that he's going for about a mid-first price, and it's just a shot we're willing to take. We said this coming into the season. I thought by now Marv would be hitting. I severely underestimated how bad Kyler would be. Mm-hmm. I severely underestimated how bad the situation would be.
Did I.
Severely. And with a guy that is a complete target hog guy like Garrett Wilson, maybe you can overcome that situation. With Marvin Harrison Jr., it's not entirely the Cardinals. He has had some fault of his own. But realistically, with the type of wide receiver that Marv is, he does need a certain type of quarterback and system to make sure he produces at a consistent high fantasy level. And he's not getting that right now. I am willing to bet, though, that there will be changes made in that Cardinals organization.
Oh, yeah.
And I am also still willing to bet on... I straight up am willing to bet on the talent of Marvin Harrison Jr. I've mentioned his bakery score to you 1,000 times, but there's never been a guy bust. He would be the biggest wide receiver prospect bust that I can remember. I mean, he would be a bigger bust than anybody like Rager or anything like that. I mean, he was drafted in the top 5.
Yeah, and he still technically is not. I mean, not a bust with the production that he's. No,
that's what I'm saying. He's not going to be a bust. Like, no. I'm saying, in 3 years, we're not going to look back and say Marv was a bust, because Marv is not going to bust. If he does, I will look stupid. I don't care. He's 23 years old. I'm really not concerned about this. Eventually, he's going to hit. I would do this one now. I would do this one while he's hurt. I would buy him for it, even if you have to pay the 104 for Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm doing it. I would rather have him than the 104 this year for sure. And so try to go get Marv while he's hurt, and we're going to buy into that elite talent and elite prospect profile that we see from Marvin Harrison Jr. We can give you more specific targets for your team based on where you are in early, mid, or late first if you still do have your 26th first. That's part of our team review process where we basically tell you, here's what you do with your picks if you still have them. If you'd like to, Nathan and I take a look at your team and you get the full team blueprint, you can get that for free. It's included with our membership over on the site. So basically you get everything on the site, all of our, the trade finder that we're using in this video, all of our rankings, our trade calculator for Dynasty. You're going to get our rookie draft guide. The bakery is going to be up on the site here within the next week. And so you get all of that. And then we include a team review for free where you get a team blueprint. We go through your team. We tell you, here's exactly what you should do with this team and the moves you should make with it. Then you're going to get infinite blueprint as well, which is a new blueprint every single week. So you can check that out. The link in the pinned comment. It's code domain. If you sign up for the annual Mother Flocker tier, you get that team review thrown in for free. We can tell you exactly what to do with your draft capital or if you should just reload or blow it up. So flockfantasy.com/domain. Again, check it out in the link in the pinned comment here. But this guy we're very impressed with, and we pay him in first form right now.
Yeah, I mean, Scadaboo has been rising, correctly so, deservedly so, with the amount of production that he's been showcasing since he became the unquestioned starter there, taking over Tracy's job. 24, 13, 13, 14, and 31 points the last 5 weeks of the season. Really, since, again, he missed a good amount of time to start the year, so he got limited snap share his first week against Washington. Like, he's been a bell cow through and through. 11, 10, 25, 15, 19 carries. The efficiency is up and down. It's kind of the type of running back that he is, right? They're just going to feed him carries, and he's a big body, and he's just going to punish you and punish you and punish you until he just finds a breakaway opportunity to get a ridiculous amount of production. And, oh, by the way, they're going to give him like 10 red zone carries every single week. So the touchdown upside is absolutely there. It's definitely going to be consistent as well. 23 years old. He was an older prospect coming into the league, so a little bit of an older rookie. A lot of mileage there too, but I do think people are being a little bit cautious with how much they're moving him up rankings. And while I respect it, I do think that he could be moving up further than he currently is at a more rapid rate, at least. Like right now, Travion Henderson is still ranked well above Cam Scadaboo. And I do think that they should be like value equivalent. I think they should be neck and neck with the concerns going on in the situation in New England right now with Henderson not getting a ton of usage long term. It's not that we're big downers on Henderson at the moment in Dynasty, but that this is more of an ode to Cam Scadaboo and how good he's been and how we shouldn't like punish him just because these other guys were better analytically and had better draft capital and all this stuff. Like Scadaboo is he's just the truth. And he's going to be insulated in this situation with Jackson Dart at the helm. I mean, Jackson Dart, big credit to him as well. He's been a huge riser in Dynasty. Like that's a big reason that Scadaboo has been so successful with Dart in this offense. He's really opened up another level for the explosiveness of this run game that we haven't really seen since Saquon. So with Scadaboo, whether it's Brian Dable at head coach for the future or somebody else, I do think he's going to be able to sustain this. And at running back, 16 prices right now, value equivalent to Tucker Kraft, Xavier Worthy, Sam Laporta, like a first round pick. Again, this is pick for player. Like I would easily trade a mid first for Scadaboo. You're going to get the same type of upside shot there in the mid first, best case scenario that maybe would offer the same amount of production that Cam Scadaboo is currently offering you as a rookie.
Look, if you have an elite quarterback on your team, trade your elite quarterback for an elite wide receiver, and then trade your first for Baker Mayfield. He's still Baker Mayfield is sitting at like 40. Like he's in the 4th round now, and he literally cannot go up. It is impossible for Dynasty players to rank this dude who is the quarterback 4 on the season, who last year was the quarterback 4 on the season, who is maybe the favorite for MVP at the moment. It is impossible to rank him higher. In the prime of his career, in the situation of his career, 30 years old, has plenty of good years left, plays like a maniac, and as Dynasty players, we're like, give me whoever else over. What are we doing? What are we doing? This guy is a top 5 producing quarterback. Trade your elite guy, get the same production in Baker, get that elite wide receiver, have Baker as your QB1.
Yeah.
Or, have riches and go get him as your QB2. This guy actually is producing at a level in fantasy football that will make a difference. Most quarterbacks are producing here. Like 90% of quarterbacks produce here. There are like 3 or 4 quarterbacks that produce above that. Most of them go at the beginning of startup drafts in Dynasty in the first round. And then Baker,
he's the only one.
Him and maybe Dak is the exception as well.
Yeah,
him
right,
and Dak. Right. If you have a Dynasty fantasy football team where you load up on wide receiver and running back, and Baker and Dak are your quarterbacks, you're winning your league.
Who were 2 of the 3 most common targets at QB that we had in the offseason?
Long nuts. So still a target is Baker because we're like, okay, buy Baker, and people were like, yeah, okay. And then he started doing this, and people were like,
Whoa.
Yeah, okay. Okay, no, he's a top 5 quarterback, y'all, and he looks fantastic. I would be very, very comfortable sending a mid first for him. I think you could do it for like a mid late first, to be honest with you.
Look, hindsight's 2020, but like, I'm sorry, we all should have seen this coming with the Emeka Egbuka draft pick in the first round. Like, we absolutely should have seen this coming.
No, we pretty much misjudged that one right off the bat. Like,
not with Egbuka.
No,
like,
but both. Like,
but I'm saying for
Baker
Baker specifically, like.
I know, but both. Like,
yeah. Like,
I mean, they both. Like, there is a trade in the trade finder. A 26 first for Baker Mayfield straight up. A 27 first for Baker Mayfield. Oh my gosh, I would do that.
Yep.
I mean, guys like Christian McCaffrey are going for Baker Mayfield right now. Bashal Toot in a second for Baker. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. So you get the idea. Baker, I would easily send a mid-late first for Baker in a heartbeat.
Yeah. Then we got George Pickens. George Pickens obviously been a big riser because he's in the best situation he's ever been in his career. I think what he's been able to do for this offense and unlocking another level that they've been looking for years, like since CeeDee Lamb came into that offense, they've been looking for the perfect complementary piece on top of CeeDee Lamb, and it is literally the embodiment of George Pickens. Every single week, I am more and more on the side of they are the biggest idiots of all time, Dallas is, Jerry specifically, if they don't re-sign George Pickens. I mean, you figure out defense long-term, and you re-sign George Pickens, and you keep the band together, and you have one of the best offenses in the NFL, and then like even a mediocre defense would take them very, very far. So George Pickens, I do think long-term, I am expecting him to re-sign with the Cowboys. Worst case scenario, he doesn't, and what he has done this year, being his most productive, best season as a wide receiver at the NFL level, production-wise and just talent-wise. Like, worst case scenario, he gets a big mega deal somewhere else, kind of like DK did in Pittsburgh, and that alone will insulate his value. So I do think he's very safe. I think he's a solid investment with high production upside any given week.
Yeah, no, I think you look at him very similar to how you've looked at T. Higgins for the last 2 or 3 years.
Yes,
like if he gets re-signed, almost exactly the same. And T. Higgins' value set in the 4th round. Let's go to late first now. Jalen Waddle's been our most common trade question for late first. He's been our most common recommendation for people's late first, and he's going to be our first recommendation for you here. We've seen this deal go down a lot recently where Jalen Waddle is being sold off for a 108 to 112 pick. Beautiful. He's the wide receiver 12 so far on the season, and his 3-year outlook just got a lot better very quickly because now you don't have Tyreek Hill there for the rest of this year, and they're going to drop him at the end of this year, evidently. And so, with no Tyreek Hill there, Jalen Waddle, he's almost 27 years old, going into the prime of his career, is going to have the next 3 years to have that Miami receiving core. Not to mention, what's going to happen here is, because it actually doesn't help Jalen Waddle. Tyreek Hill, they played so similarly that it does help him that he's hurt. If they brought in somebody for Waddle here, like a good X from the draft, I mean, yeah. I mean, put Elijah freaking Surratt in that offense and let me say hello. That would be amazing. That would actually help Jalen Waddle. I think they're going to pair him with a young receiver. But most importantly, I think there's a chance they pair him with a young quarterback when they refresh. Maybe they roll with Tua with their new head coach next year. But I think realistically, it's going to be a better situation for Jalen Waddle. And again, I think the market has been very slow to adjust on his new 3-year outlook, whereas Waddle is going behind a lot of these guys. I mean, Waddle is valued well below DK, Travis Hunter, T. Higgins, Jordan Addison, QJ, Kyler Murray, Ricky Pearsall, Kenneth Walker. What are we doing? What are we doing valuing Kenneth Walker over Jalen Waddle in a dynasty league? Like, come on, man. So, I just think this is so easy. I think if you can do this, which the data says you can easily do it, I think you take advantage and you do it for Jalen Waddle in a heartbeat. I think again, you're going to have 3 pretty good years of production from Jalen Waddle at this point.
So once upon a time, aka a week ago, Avery and I had this big fight on the Sells video about like what we're actually doing in terms of playing the market with Breece Hall. And the guys that we were talking about in his price range were like, hey, if you could get Rashee Rice or Henderson, if you could get as a contending team like Kyron or Jacobs, which are going to offer more immediate production upside, then you can move those guys for Breece Hall, debatably. Newsflash, I'm just learning this based off of the trade questions that people have been asking me over the last few days, the trade scenarios that we've seen. Breece Hall was never priced that high. Ever, which means he is not a sell. So like I was dead wrong. Like I'll take my L on that. Breece Hall was never a sell. If he's currently being priced equivalent to a late 1st round pick, then he was always a hold 100% because he will be worth more than that in no time, whether he's traded, whether he gets tagged, whether he re-signs because the situation will get better long-term, or will be more optimistic when they draft a quarterback next year. If worst case scenario, he stays in New York or he goes elsewhere. But at this current price, I mean, I've seen people talk about Javonte in a second second for Breece Hall. You're taking Breece Hall. The amount of trades that sometimes have not even involved first round picks specifically, but like a second plus a way less valuable player for Breece Hall, you have to take it every single time, guys, every single time. So a late first, if you can do that, again, not something that I thought was even on people's radar. I thought he was going for way more than that, and that's just clearly not the case. This is one where, like, when you look at market value databases like public servers like Keep Trade Cut, for example, they're dead wrong. This is not the market value of Breece Hall right now. He is not value equivalent to Kyren Williams and Josh Jacobs. It's not even close.
Yeah, and here's the thing about the knowing the market and what actually happens and not, because a lot of people, I just have to say this. You had people in the comments in the Sells video saying, this happens. This never happens in Dynasty. I say this knowing that Nathan and I are the biggest idiots of all times. Like, literally, we are so stupid about a lot of things. We're wrong a lot. That's as much humble pie as I can throw in your face. Like, we do not think of ourselves like that. But we definitely know the Dynasty market more than anybody. Like, I mean, there is not a soul on the planet that answers as many Dynasty questions as Nathan and I. I'm serious. There's not on the planet Earth. I promise you there is not. I will gladly show you how much we do this. Like, it is our full-time job to answer Dynasty fantasy football questions. And we're not always right doing it. And our primary goal is to put out good content for you guys. But for people to say that we don't know what's happening, or this never happens, this doesn't happen in Dynasty leagues, like, you are kidding yourself if you think you know better. You don't. Trust me. Your few Dynasty leagues you play in are nothing compared to the literally thousands of leagues that we have had to review. Like, and again, I say that not to say we're like, oh, we're so amazing, but we know. It's our job to know, and we literally do it all the time, guys. QJ is a good example. QJ is somebody that I said was a buy a couple weeks ago. I stand by it. He's gone up in value since that video, which I feel good about, but he's also missed some time, so it's a little bit rough. With QJ, here's some trades that have gone down. A 12-team 1 QB, DeAndre Swift for QJ, Deebo Samuel for QJ, a late 26 first for QJ. So these are definitely achievable prices here. I think QJ, DeAndre Swift in a second for QJ, I'd be fine with. But realistically, that does put him in the late first range. I still believe in QJ. I think that he's in a weird spot value-wise right now, because you had this hot start and then a kind of an game, and then he got hurt. And so people are still like, I'm not quite going to move him up my rankings. Well, if QJ does come back and QJ does what he was doing, which I think he will, then QJ is going to be, he's going to go up in value a lot. People just need to see a little bit more to bump QJ up in value, and you're going to get in on QJ. If you buy him now, you're going to get in on that before that happens. You can get him for a late first pretty easily, so I would definitely make that move and get Quentin Johnston.
I would get Devonta Smith as well. I do think that he's kind of one of those wide receivers in the range of Waddle, T. Higgins, etc., that are just very insulated. They're not going to move much. Devonta Smith has not moved in value very much for multiple years at this point, because everyone knows that his situation is kind of locked, solidified. You know what it's going to look like for the foreseeable future. The nice thing about Smith, though, is if you pay a late first for him, there is a chance that you see a big value jump in the offseason if there is any move made involving A.J. Brown, where he goes to another team. But I don't want to just account for that. Even if A.J. Brown ends up staying, A.J. Brown's going to be 28 years old, going on 29 heading into next season, and people get really scared of that in Dynasty, right? And then they start giving the nod to someone like Devonta Smith. I guarantee you, once we get to the offseason, if these two guys are on the same team together, Devonta Smith will be more valuable than A.J. Brown in Dynasty, just because he has the extra year and a half, whatever it is. So not to mention, he's a great wide receiver, very, very talented. He has been, again, boom bust, just like A.J. Brown has been. That's kind of the type of receiver that Devonta Smith is. But the name value alone, the insulation, the situation, all that stuff, you would kill for a talent with the production upside that Devonta Smith has in the late first round of any rookie draft any year.
Yeah. All right, let's go to early to mid seconds now as well. Some of these will be reloading and rebuilding. Some of these will be contending. But if you have like the 201 through the 206, these are guys you can typically get in that range. Let's start with Javonte. We've recommended Javonte. Javonte could be in the late first conversation, like 111, 112, and I'd actually be okay with that. But I think his price more is reflective of like being closer to a second. Anywhere from like the 111 to the 202 for Javonte, I'm totally good with. But for a contending team, I think this is a slam dunk pick. I think for sure that Javonte is going to be a top 12 running back rest of the season. And I think just like George Pickens, he has a chance to go back to the Cowboys after this year as well, with as impressive as they've been. And Schottenheimer seems like he really likes him. And so I think Javonte for a contending team, you could pay a late first or early second and feel pretty good about it.
Yeah, I think Luther Burden's a good market play at the moment too. I think you're going to have a lot of people that are very very excited about his outlook long term, as his efficiency when he is on the field and getting opportunities is very, very high. Right now, again, it's very rare that he's on the field, like 20-25% of the time right now. There's just a lot of mouths to feed there. But with DJ Moore looking to be phased out of this offense long term, it's looking very clear that's kind of the goal here. Luther Burden drafted by Ben Johnson himself. DJ Moore really is, again, you can just see the writing on the wall with him. It's going to definitely incentivize Chicago to move off of him or phase him out. If they can't move off of him this offseason, they have to keep him for one more year. Like, he's going to end up being the third option there. Luther Burden looks more explosive, looks like more of a gadget type of wide receiver that has big play upside. He's really fun to watch, great analytical tier in the bakery. I do think he's on the up. This is the least amount of usage you're probably ever going to see again for Luther Burden, which is why I would get him at a discount in the second round.
Yeah, it's another quarterback that we can target here. Look, Sam Darnold looks like the real deal. And he's technically only on a 1-year deal, right?
It's
complicated.
I'll let you know.
Regardless, I think he's going to be there for the next couple of years, because what he's doing right now in Seattle, and the Seattle Seahawks, by the way, I mean, if you've watched those games, they have a pretty respectable team. They just beat the Jacksonville Jaguars, right? And that was, the Jaguars before that game were 4-1 as well. And I think the Seahawks are 4-2 now, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, they look good. They barely lost to the Buccaneers. Obviously, they killed the Saints this year. And Darnold has looked good doing it. I mean, ask any NFL analysts. I mean, Darnold has looked good at quarterback outside of fantasy football. He's looked good.
Yeah, this was a Baker contract. This is through 2 years. So through 2026, he's locked in. They have a third-year option in 2027.
Look, for the rest of this year and all of next year, I would definitely take him, because he is
I think they'll extend him
on a week-to-week basis. He is a quarterback one, or a low-end quarterback one, pretty consistently. He's the quarterback 11 on the year so far. And 17, 16, 16, 28, and 20 points in his last 5 games. I mean, again, this is a guy that you can get for almost nothing. You can get him for almost nothing, and you can start him as your QB2, and I'm totally fine with it. This is somebody who is producing at the level of the guys going in the 4th round of Dynasty Startups, but you get him in the 10th round. And so with Darnold, I like buying him right now, because I think you're not only going to get him for this year, I think you're also going to get him for next year, and I think he's a good guy to own on your Dynasty team. It looks like, it kind of looks like a Baker-type career resurgence here for Sam Darnold, who's 28, and we thought he would be worse going to the Vikings. Going from the Vikings to the Seahawks. We were wrong about that. He's looked better as a quarterback, to be honest with you, and he's made JSN an Offensive Player of the Year candidate at this point. And so I definitely am comfortable sending an early mid-second if you need QB help for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, same with Trey Benson. Very solid analytical tier where he was drafted, and he's going to be heading into a situation next year in Arizona where you're probably going to see a lot of change in the coaching staff, front office, etc. And yeah, there's always going to be risk that he could be replaced, but with day 2 draft capital, they may as well just ride out his rookie contract, which is going to have 2 more years on it after this season. And again, this is assuming that he stays at that price heading into next offseason. I think that he could be worth more than that once he comes back from IR and reestablishes his role as the top option there and does have the ability to be a bell cow. Just need to see it. It is possible. It's in a situation where he can do it because we've seen James Conner do it. We're not saying he's going to be James Conner to a T, but he has the upside to, and it's worth taking a mid-second shot on him.
And then we'll wrap up here with our mid to late seconds. We'll start with Brandon Ayuk. Look, Brandon Ayuk really is going cheap in Dynasty right now. He is, because of the increased, injury timeline that people are seeing, and, he might not actually be back for a couple more weeks. So you're talking about maybe not having him at full strength until next year. That has made him pretty cheap, and rightfully so. I think there's, a fair amount of risk. Right now, when you look up trades for him, he is, here's one for him for 2/3. Here's one for Kamani Vidal and Ellick for Brandon Ayuk, one for Jacoby Myers, one for Khalil Shakir. So about that mid-late second range. He is dirt cheap. In most deals, he's a throw-in, actually, at this point. And I think he's a great throw-in. So I think if you can send a late second for him, I would absolutely do that. And that's definitely the price he's going for right now.
Yeah, and then Deebo Samuel looking very, very productive in a great situation in Washington where Terry has been injured. I don't think that Terry is going to necessarily take away from Deebo's production even when he's back healthy. I think they can be complementary. They have very complementary skill sets at this point. At this point of Deebo's career, he is kind of running out of the slot exclusively. Terry can be that guy, that deep threat out wide. But as a contender, 100%. If you have a mid to late second, the status of your roster is like, hey, I can go on a run, be a contending team this year, but I need to maximize the flex spot upside that I currently have. easy move that you can do is just hand someone your mid to late second next year and just go get the production in Deebo Samuel right now. It's an easy exchange that a rebuild would be happy to do, and you get the high level production right now.
We're going to put Jaden Higgins on here because I think fact of the matter is Jaden Higgins, especially for the late second range, is going to be better than a lot of the prospects in the late second this year.
Yep.
He still does have some upside. You do still have Nico Collins in front of him, but that situation is going to get better. And I think Jaden Higgins is going to be somebody who benefits from that when you see that situation. I think they're going to make some changes there this offseason. Probably not with D'Amico, but I think they probably make an offensive coordinator change there this year. They're going to have to bolster their offensive line. And Jaden Higgins is capable of being a wide receiver too, behind Nico and still being productive. In fact, you've seen 9 and 7 points in the last couple of weeks from him against Tennessee and Baltimore. Obviously, the Tennessee game he had it, but his snap share is starting to creep up a little bit too. And so just an upside shot there, but he's better than the guys I think that are going to be at the late in the second next year. So
yeah, and then very similar to Deebo, but just on the running back side, if you need production right now, high upside production, just go get DeAndre Swift. He doesn't have long-term insulation, nothing like that. But again, this is what you have to pay as a contender if you need to bolster your flex a little bit, if you're suffering from a couple of injuries, if bye weeks are looking to be rough over the next few weeks and you just need to stack wins. Like, Swift is an easy exchange where a rebuild should be happy to do that.
All right, there you go. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully you can make some of these trades in your leagues. But again, aim high. Do not sell low on these 26 first. I would be hesitant to sell them at all because people are giving such low balls for them. But if you can get this done in your league, these are guys we're comfortable moving. So again, make sure you drop a like if you enjoy the Dynasty content. Make sure you're subscribed if you play Dynasty as well. We're going to be putting out Dynasty content. Literally, that's what we do. We just put out Dynasty content. If you want to come join the community, it's the best Dynasty community in the world by far. All of our people are so freaking great. You can join the Discord and get on the site, etc. And you can get a free team review from Nathan and I and get started and get connected with us. You can do that. I've got the link in the pinned comment to come join the community, be a part of the club. We'd love to have you. We appreciate you guys so much. You guys are the best audience in the world. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you here soon.